Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever applies to you while you're listening or watching this. This is going to be the first video, the introductory video that kind of explains what the whole channel is going to be about. This is LN1, generic name for God, but the most important piece of this channel is what is God? Who is God to everyone? And that's kind of going to drive the whole channel. So this will eventually be on all podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. I think it's already on Spotify, but it's on Anchor.fm. Also, I have some notes with me here, so I keep looking down. It's because my short-term memory is absolutely horrible. Long-term memory, I can remember the finest details of 20 plus years ago, but when it comes to short-term, nope, zilch. So that, my trusty coffee. So this, the primary reason I created this channel is to communicate to other people what is God to them. And if they don't believe in God, then what is everything to them? What is the universe? And I guess probably the simplistic way to explain that is that quantum physics and quantum mechanics kind of ties the knot between the science community and the religion. So essentially, I believe that we are all held back by definitions, to the fact that we argue and kill people over a difference of definition. But ultimately, I think everyone, believers and non-believers, believe the same thing. So the last 2 or 3 years, I've been doing very thorough research. I don't claim to know everything. I don't even claim to know maybe that much, but on a macro level, I can definitely start putting the dots together. And that's really the information I'm trying to convey to everyone else. So we're all in our different corners: Judaism, Christianity, agnostics, atheism, Islam. But what I'm trying to do is tie it all together to one piece, so we can sit back and say, you know what? We don't actually disagree more than we agree. So with that being said, a few years ago, I was very, I won't say down and dark, because to each their own, I guess, but absolutely a non-believer. As a matter of fact, I would probably get heated for anyone that tried to convert me to believing in God, Jesus, which is a totally different subject. And through my research, I started at one point. I was once a Christian. I was raised that way. And my research brought me around full circle of not believing, playing around with crazy stuff, understanding the difference between science, religion, the Big Bang, all this kind of stuff. And like I said, it pretty much came full circle. And I don't think that ever, no, I know never in my life ever have I been so sure of what I believe I think is important. And regardless of anything I say in this video or the videos to come, I think that's the most important thing, is understanding what you believe. Not just repeating, or not just being raised a certain way and saying, being a yes man, a yes woman, saying, okay, because the Bible said this. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in just repeating what you're told. I believe that everyone should do their own research, come up to their own conclusions, and if you can back it, then I support whatever your decision is to believe. So who is God? So you can ask a Christian, who is God? I can tell you one thing, and this applies to all religions and non-religions. God is not a man in the sky. He's not this old guy with a beard. So then I think we can all agree with that. So if that is in fact the case, then what is God? You know, and so I'm not a firm believer on the Big Bang. I think Big Bangs have happened. I think they'll continuously happen. That's how the universe works. But let's take Big Bang for an example. So the Christians, they're not going to believe in the Big Bang theory, and then you got the scientific community that's not going to believe in the old man in the sky or God or whomever, whatever you want to define that as. So, but why can't, and this is hypothetical, but why can't God be the Big Bang? Why can't the Big Bang be God? What is actually the difference? The difference is definitions, of course, but we also we can't really say, we can't give a definite answer, because God, the universe, science, whatever you want to call it, whatever is the best definition for you, is not, our minds cannot comprehend it. It's beyond our comprehension. It's outside. It's when we have this word of everything, it's outside of everything. And it's hard to comprehend something that you can't comprehend. Especially being humans, we're very stubborn. We want answers. We want to think that we know everything, but when it comes to this subject, we don't. So you might say, well, what's your channel about then? Your channel is about to explain what is God, and that's really not so. My channel is to explain to you how to understand what you believe and not just repeat. So this is going to be the easiest, the most simple episode, or whatever you want to call it. It's very simple, but behind the scenes it's not. It's the hardest thing to understand. What is God? What is God to you? What is God to everyone? And it's really going to make all the other episodes make sense. They're going to go in a lot more depth and detail. It goes into, well, I'll get to that in a second. But I guess a good way is something recently I heard too. I was reading a book. It was a book about Judaism, I believe. So usually a lot of people will say, and it's a very good term, I'm not saying it's wrong, but people like to say God is within you. God acts through you. God is within you. But I think that another way to look at it is, and maybe a better way to look at it, is that we're actually in God, similar to cells in a body. We act as the expressions of God. We're each an expression. We each have our own purpose in life. We're not just bodies hanging around, but we're each cell has a different duty per se. So we are. God has a thought. God, he, her, it. God has a thought, and we are the action of that thought. So, like I said, this is gonna be I'm explaining this very simple, but it's not easy to comprehend. But we are that breath of God. We are that sound wave and particle, that light wave and particle. We are the energy of God. So God gives us the tools to be our own person. How we use those tools is our free will, if you want to call it that. But that's what gives us our individuality. I think I got that. So I think probably the best way, and with that being said, I think the best way, what a lot of people do is, because we're very selfish people, we think about us first, and then the universe and God. But that's from a micro to a macro level. I think the better way to understand and start to perceive the world, not just the world, but the universe and God, of how it is go from a macro level down to a micro. And the macro is God is everything. Let's just essentially say God is absolutely everything. So then what is God's relation to astronomy? What is God's relation to each individual planet? Does each individual planet have a purpose? Is it just a spinning rock in the sky? And then we can bring that all the way down to me, you, we. What are we here for? What is our purpose? I'm gonna probably catch flack on this one, but I think it's extremely important to understand, because this is the divider between a lot of atheists and a lot of religious people, Christians, every other religion, is that what we hear a lot, and you can go on Facebook and you'll see a bazillion quotes that I think are highly misquoted, but people are under the impression that God is all loving. As a matter of fact, I heard a very good pastor this past Sunday say something along the same lines. I was actually shocked because I never heard a pastor say this, but I definitely, absolutely, 100% agree. God is not all loving, and this is a key fact to understanding what God is to you, because God, if God is everything, he can't be all loving. He is the bad things that happen. He's the good things that happen. He is in its entirety. And excuse me for saying he, is just, it's kind of bred into you to say he, God, but because God is far beyond male, female. Like I said, God's beyond the everything. But God can't be all loving. God is absolutely everything. And like I said, he gives you those tools to make the good and the bad. And like, if you want to bring in a subject like law of attraction, what you attract is what you become. What you attract is in your life. And it's essentially no different than what prayer is. So God is the good energy. God is the bad energy. God is all the energy. And how you use that is up to you. As I said, we're all very, very important. We all each have our own duty in life. And I know a lot, it's really, especially with what, 330 million people just here in North America, it's hard to really think like, why am I so important? I'm just another person. But let me think of a hypothetical. So we can say, let's just take the passing of someone, okay? Someone's death. Now, extreme hypothetical, I'm coming up with it on the spot, but you take someone's death, okay? Maybe it wasn't a bad thing, maybe it was tragic, maybe it doesn't matter. But that person dying draws emotions from multiple people that attend the funeral. So we have multiple emotions. We have people seeing each other that haven't seen each other in years. We have someone that may meet the love of their life somehow. We have all these different factors taking place. But this is seen at a macro level, not a micro level. So the micro level is, why did God do this? This doesn't make sense. Why am I here? This is boring. I didn't like that person. Whoop-de-doo. Life happens. But from a macro level, a level that we cannot even comprehend, those things are working. Now, I can tell you, 6 months ago, if I had lost a child, a very close family member, the love of my life, and somebody said, well, it's just part of God's plan, I would flip out. I would lose it on them, absolutely, 100%. Not so much more these days because, as I said, I went full circle. And now I'm understanding from a macro level why each little piece plays its role. Now, I think that obviously everything I just said has a lot of questions. It's inevitable, because I don't comprehend everything. Nobody does. Nobody will that watches this. Nobody can sit here and even correct me on the things I said, because it's impossible. And that's actually the beautiful part about it, is that each person's perception of God, even if it is an old man in the sky, it's unique to each person. Just like the style of the clothes you wear, your haircut, each one's unique. And that's really the most beautiful part. Now, this is, once again, like the most cut and dry, non-specific type of video that I'm going to do. In the upcoming videos, we're going to go over determinism versus free will. Which do you think is more accurate? The reasoning behind them. And like I said, we all play a certain part in the universe. Why this is very important, because this is one thing that kind of drove me away from Christianity many years ago, is why God allows bad things to happen. And a very sensitive subject, one I take very close to heart, is why God would allow bad things to happen to innocent children. I struggled with that one for a very long time, but one of my next couple of videos, I'm going to explain exactly what my perception is. and how it's part of God's plan or God's will or whatever you want to put it. And if you don't want to say God, the universe, science, the Big Bang, it's essentially all the same. What happens when you die? This is huge. Once again, nobody's going to be able to give you a 100% answer. It's just nobody's come back and told us what it's like when you die. But with all my research pertaining to science, pertaining to confessions from medical doctors, nursing homes, religious manuscripts, when you put them all together, they pretty much have a common denominator. So I can just tell you what I believe. And I think it's, if it's not 100% accurate, it's pretty close. What is white magic? What is black magic? Who has used it in ancient times, even right there in the Holy Bible? What its importance is, how it links to science, energy, etc. These are very important things, because even if it's not a subject that interests you, it's something that, like I said previously, it's important to understand what you believe, how you believe it. Take all the facts, compile them together, and then come up with your conclusion. And just because someone told you to, or you went to church one Sunday and the pastor said, believe this, I think that's never a good enough answer. So quantum physics and quantum mechanics, like I said, I think it literally ties a knot between science and religion. It's almost in black and white if you would actually look into it, but we really fight, we argue, we disagree, we separate ourselves in the entire world off of definitions, how you define. I think we can all agree we have different perceptions about even the dumbest, most petty things in the world. But when it comes to the most important thing is why, I guess, people fight and kill each other. And all I'm simply saying is, if we can get past the definition part, then we can start seeing a little closer eye to eye versus the opposite. What is energy and how do I use it? How do I use energy? Energy, to me, a very simple answer before I break it down in another video. Energy is one of God's tools. As simple as that. How you use it is solely up to you. And most importantly, I've hinted on this a few times during the video, not who is God, but what and who is God to you. Because it doesn't matter what someone else believes. Nobody has a piece of paper giving you an exact answer. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. So what does it mean to you? Who is it? What is it? She, he, maybe it is a man in the sky. We don't know. But whatever it is to you, it's important to understand why you think that, how you came to that conclusion, and then how you're going to use it for the rest of your life, for your family's life, what you're going to teach your children. These are all very important things. So what is God to you? Anyhow, I think that pretty much wraps up the first episode. Like I said, you can disagree to it all you want. It's just what I believe, and nobody has facts per se. So that's it. Thanks.